B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach. Hello, Achim Yekarim, how are you? Want to answer a question that was asked last week in regards to one of the members in the WhatsApp group asked if he is permitted to go to a class that is school or is university, apparently a Christian university, is forcing him to take Christian studies. As a Jew, is he allowed to take that class? And as a matter of fact, as we'll learn from this shiur, it's also as a Gentile if you're even allowed to learn Christian studies. Now, according to the Torah and according to the sages, Christianity, because of their false man-made New Testament that personifies and humanizes God, also divides him into three, chas v'shalom, as well as says that God had intimate relations with Mary. This is considered 100% idol worship. Christianity, belief in J.C. Penney, belief in the whole New Testament in general is 100% idol worship. Anytime you divide Hashem into anything, you are making more than one God. And God has mentioned to us time and time again in the Torah that there's only one God. He was, He is, and He will be. So, knowing the fact that Christianity is idol worship, this shiur not only applies to Jews that are trying to become righteous with Hashem, but this also applies to Gentiles that are also trying to become righteous with Hashem, because according to the 7 Noahide laws in the Torah, they're not allowed to idol worship. No one's allowed to idol worship. And this is why in Parashat Shoftim, which one of the people that asked the question mentioned, in Parashat Shoftim in book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 9, it says, Lo tilmad la'asot keto'avat hagoyim ahem. You shall not learn to act according to the abominations of those nations. This is Hashem specifically telling us that we are not allowed to learn their ways, we're not allowed to learn their laws, we're not allowed to learn their idol worship. Why? Because it's considered to'ava. To'ava means disgusting, means an abomination. To Hashem, anyone that's idol worshipping is considered, his actions are considered disgusting to Hashem. So unless someone has some type of mental issue, why would you want to be disgusting to your Creator? So here, Rashi, one of the major sages, is saying that you are allowed to study the subject of idol worship in order to teach. But this is often misunderstood. What does it mean? What does it mean in order to teach, and also what does it mean in order to see how crooked or upside down it is? Now, the Rambam, which is where we get all of our, we get all of our laws from the Torah, which goes to the oral Torah, which is the major part of it is the Mishnah, then the Gemara, and then after that we have the Rambam taking the laws from the Gemara, and then from there, we have the Shulchan Aruch. And nonetheless, Rambam mentions in Alachot Avodah Zarah, the laws of Avodah Zarah, in his book Laws of Avodah Zarah, Perek Bet, Alachat Bet. The idol worshippers have written many books about idol worship and how to do it and its rules and laws. The will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the will of Hashem, is that they should not be read, and for us not to delve or meditate in it, or its sayings and doings. And even to look at an image of an idol is not allowed, as it says, don't go, meaning he's quoting a verse in the Torah, don't go towards the idols. And on this matter it says, and he continues, that this, why we're not allowed to even learn it. I mean, let's say someone is a Orthodox Jew, keeps Shabbat, keeps kosher, keeps Taharat Mishpacha, all the laws of Judaism. Why is he not even allowed to study this? Why is he not allowed to delve into the man-made New Testament? It says this leads you towards their idols. And to do what they do as it says, and I will do it myself as well. So this is actually in the Torah, where Hashem says that our eyes are windows for our soul. And whatever we let into those windows will affect our neshama. This is also the reason why a man that wants to be holy, just like Hashem wrote in his Torah, you have to be holy because I am holy. He didn't say you should be holy. He didn't say it's nice if you're holy. He didn't say it's a good trait if you're holy. He said you have to be holy. Why? Because I am holy. So Hashem says, if you want to be holy, you have to make sure that what you let in to your neshama is something that you want. But if those windows that you call your eyes are letting in things that I consider disgusting, because they're going against me, and they divide me, and they humanize me, and they make me everything that I'm not, then how do you expect to be holy? This is why in the Gemara, Masechet Sanhedrin, page 38, Rabbi Eliezer explains this Gemara, explains this even before the Rambam, explaining what does it mean learning Torah, learning Avodah Zarah. How can we understand what not to do if we're not allowed to even look at their books? Rabbi Eliezer says, "Be diligent with learning Torah, and know what to answer the heretic." So here, some people that just read this first part of the Gemara think, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I'm allowed, according to Rabbi Eliezer in the Gemara, which precedes the Rambam, it says, you should learn Torah, but also learn enough to answer a heretic, which is called Apikolos. There was actually a person by the name of Apikolos who was a major heretic and forever earned the name of being a heretic, or Apikolos. So here, if you just learn this first line of the Gemara, it seems like you're allowed to learn this idol worship. You're allowed to learn what to do because you'll be able to answer him. You'll be able to answer these idol worshippers and show them how twisted and upside down their religion is, and therefore, what's the problem? Rabbi Yochanan continues this Gemara, same page, very next line. This is not referring to a Gentile heretic, a Gentile Apikolos, but specifically to a Jewish Apikolos. So here he's telling you, no. We're talking about learning Torah in order to be able to fight a heretic, like some of these heretics that unfortunately we have in our own nation, that are preaching Messianic Judaism, which is complete nonsense, and another version of Christianity, or heretics that are preaching Reform or Conservative Judaism, which is another form of heresy and nonsense. He's saying here, if you're going to fight a heretic, go fight the Jewish heretic, meaning learn Torah, and from the Torah you prove to him that Hashem is real. From the Torah, you prove to him that the Torah is divine. From the Torah, you prove to him everything you need to prove to him. Don't go delve into the other books of idol worship, because that's not what you were brought to the world to do. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 9, it says, "Lo tilmad la'asot ketoavat hagoyim hahem." You shall not learn to act according to the abomination of those nations. The Ramban mentions, why Hashem is mentioning this again? We already learned this. Why are we mentioning again? Because the Ramban, there's a Rambam and then there's Ramban, Maimonides and Nachmanides. The Ramban says, why is Hashem mentioning this verse again? He's mentioning this verse because Hashem wants to remind us that He considers their work, He's considering their idol worship 100% disgusting to Him. So now, when someone asks the question, are we allowed to go take a course in idol worship in college because they're forcing me? You obviously know the answer. The answer is absolutely not. And if you have to leave the school, then leave the school. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't even be in that school. Being surrounded by idol worship like it is. But this is unfortunately how far we are from the source. This shows us how far we are from Hashem. We've been suffering from idol worship for thousands of years. And as a matter of fact, as we always say, if you ever want an answer for any question that's happening to you right now, you always look at Parashat Shavua. And as a matter of fact, the answer that we have is from last week's parasha. And last week's parasha, at the end of the parasha, chapter 21, verse 9, it says, Vayas Moshe nechash nechoshet ve'esimenu al hanes v'aya im nashach hanachash et haish v'hibit el nechash hanechoshet v'chai. It says Moses made a serpent of copper and placed it on the pole. So it was that if the serpent bit a man, he would stare at the copper serpent and live. For anyone who read the parasha or did not read the parasha last week, after Am Yisrael again complained about Hashem, complained about Moshe, Hashem punished them again. And he sent them a bunch of serpents, a bunch of snakes to bite them, which killed thousands and thousands of people. But then Moshe cried to Hashem, asking for mercy, and Hashem said, okay, make a snake and have it put it on the top of a mountain, and each person that looks up at the top of the mountain towards the snake will be saved. Why? Because each person that's looking up is going to see the snake, but in essence is going to be reminded, at the same time he's looking up, he's also seeing the heavens, he's seeing the sky. He's reminded that the solution, the cure, and the disease all comes from the same source. And as soon as someone is reminded that all of it comes from the source, comes from Hashem, from the Creator, I'll heal them. As soon as they admit that I am the only one that provides the cure, I'm the only one that provides the illness, I'm the only one that provides everything and anything. As soon as they acknowledge that, I'll cure them. So this was this serpent that was made out of copper that Moshe made was a blessing, which, by the way, is the reason why there's a snake in the signs for different medical organizations until this day. It comes from the Torah. As we always say, anything that's any good in this world has to have some type of source in the Torah. So now, this looks like a good thing. This is great. But then, we see what happens with Avodah Zarah. We go to the Gemara, Masechet Avodah Zarah. You want to learn Avodah Zarah? You can learn it in the Gemara. You can learn it in the Talmud. In the Gemara, Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 44a. It says, Uchetat nechash nechoshet asher asa Moshe. And it's mentioning this specific action that happened when Moshe made the serpent. But what happened? In the book of Kings 2, chapter 18:4, it says, when the Israelites were attacked by the serpents in the wilderness, Hashem instructed Moshe to fashion a likeness of a fiery serpent and place it on top of a pole. Anyone that was bitten would look at the image and be cured. But now, what happened with this? Generations later, King Chizkiah had to pulverize this snake, because they kept this snake, they kept this copper snake for many, many generations as a proof, as a reminder of the miracles that Hashem has given us in the desert. The miracles that He gives us every single day. We kept the man, we kept the Ten Commandments, we kept everything. Everything, we had records of it. And this was one of them. But what happened? The foolish Am Yisrael, what did they end up doing? They ended up starting to worship this serpent, this copper piece, this piece of metal. The stupidity here is that instead of worshiping the one who gave them the solution, who just allowed us to use this thing, just to encourage us to look at Him, to look at the heavens, us fools as Am Yisrael, what do? We started worshiping the tool. Instead of worshiping the master, we worship the tool. So King Chizkiah in Kings 2, chapter 18, verse 4, had to pulverize it, had to take this snake, this copper snake, and pulverize it and then spread the ashes everywhere. So this shows us, again, another action of how we fell for idol worship and how we've been suffering for it. And of course, everyone knows the story of the golden calf right after we got the Torah. So now, you have to ask yourself, Why would anyone want to study or even put themselves in a situation where they have to study idol worship when Hashem considers it disgusting? And on top of it, his children have been suffering from this disease for several thousand years. Why would Hashem do it? Not only do we need to know that we're not allowed to do it, but as a matter of fact, in the same Gemara, page 46a, Chazal says, Rabbi Eliezer says, from where do we know that one who eradicates the idolatrous object must uproot it? The Torah therefore teaches a verse from the Torah. It says, and you shall obliterate their name. What does it mean, you shall obliterate their name? This is in Deuteronomy 12:2. Rabbi Akiva said to Rabbi Eliezer, but it is not already stated, you shall not destroy, you shall not destroy. This means that you shall obliterate their name from their place, meaning that you should actually make a funny name for idol worship. And the Torah therefore states, and you shall surely loathe it, you shall surely abhor it, for it is banned. This is a verse from the Torah which shows that the name must be derogatory. If idolaters called their temple the house of heap, it was a house of Galia that they called it. We call it the house of the ditch. If they call their house the eye of everything, we call it the eye of a thorn, meaning that Hashem hates idol worship and disgusted by idol worship to such an extent that we are obligated to make fun of it. This is why anyone that was upset that when Rabbi Mizrahi, a tzaddik, was mentioning or calling J.C. Penney, making fun of the idol worship, they were saying, oh, it's not nice, not politically correct. This is not only the right thing to do, this is a commandment from the Torah. Hashem says you have to destroy their names, make fun of their names, to show how much you love me, to show how much you hate idol worship. Why? Because if we look at the Gemara, page 46a again, it says here, according to Rashi, in the context of idolatry, everything is prohibited unless the Torah permits it explicitly. Meaning that with idol worship, there is no boundaries. Meaning you have to make sure that you follow everything to the T. There's strict boundaries. You have to follow everything to the T. You have to make sure that anything connecting or relating to idol worship, you're only allowed to do it if it's specifically stated in the Torah that you're allowed to do it. Why? Because you are commanded to loathe it and abhor it and consider it disgusting. So now that we understand how disgusting and Hashem believes and how we understand how disgusting the Torah of the Goyim, the idol worship, the New Testament is, we have to start learning what the Gemara really said over here. The Gemara said that we have to learn Torah in order to fight the heretic. How do we fight a heretic? It says by learning the Torah itself. In the same Gemara, it says, page 20b, Gemara Avodah Zarah. It says, Rabbi is starting a Bereta. And the verse states, in Deuteronomy 23:10, and you shall beware of any evil thing. This teaches that a person should not think immoral thoughts by day and come there by tum'ah by night. From here, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair said, the study of Torah brings one to heedfulness. And heedfulness brings one to diligence. And diligence brings one to cleanliness. And cleanliness brings one to asceticism. And asceticism brings one to purity. And purity brings one to piety. And piety brings one to humility. And humility brings one to fear of sin, Yirat Shamayim. And fear of sin brings one to holiness. And holiness brings one to the divine inspiration, Ruach HaKodesh. And divine inspiration brings one to the resurrection of the dead. And the piety is greatest of them all, for it is stated, and you, God, spoke in the vision of your pious ones. Since God chose to speak to those that accomplished in piety, it is obviously the one that's the greatest of his adherents. Point being here is that Hashem has given us a blueprint of how to reach the highest possible level of connection to him. From just being a basic kosher Jew or basic kosher Gentile to getting to the level of prophecy. Whether it be Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest of all prophets that had to go through this, or even Job, the prophet of the Goyim, that was very, very righteous and has a whole book about him, not like the Bilam HaRasha, the wicked Bilam, the other prophet of the Goyim, that ended up trying to curse Am Yisrael and then obviously being punished for it. So here we understand that if you want to fight idol worship, you do it through the Torah. You learn the Torah. As it says, page 35 again, Masechet Avodah Zarah. And talking about what is a Torah scholar comparable to, says it's to a flask of balsam oil. If it is open, its fragrance spreads, and if it's covered, its fragrance does not spread. Similarly, when a Torah scholar opens his flask and teaches Torah to others, his fame will spread. And not only that, but things that were hidden from him before will be now revealed to him. As it is stated, Alamot love you. Here is telling us one major thing at the end of this Gemara. It says one that teaches Torah, he inherits two worlds. What two worlds? Both this world and the world to come. And that's what it's referring to by Alamot, which actually means maidens. It says, don't say Alamot, say Olamot, meaning worlds. Nonetheless, someone that learns Torah, and teaches Torah, to fight the heretics, to help people do tshuva, to help do kiruv, to get people back close to Hashem, inherits this world and the next. And this, my friends, is the point of this shiur. This, my friends, is why Hashem is telling you that the idol worship is disgusting to him. Not only is it disgusting because it's going against him and it's saying that he's something that he's not, but on top of it, it's taking the poison and drinking it while the cure is being thrown in the garbage. How can we ever allow ourselves to spend any time drinking poison instead of the cure? The only time, as the sages explained, that you're allowed to learn about idol worship as far as learning their stupid books is when you are involved in it, where there's a national debate like the holy rabbis, Rabbi Tovia Singer does, or Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi does. If they're involved in a debate which is for the purpose of sanctifying Hashem's name, then they're allowed. Why are they now allowed? Because they've already learned the Torah completely. They've learned the Gemara, they've learned the Shulchan Aruch, they've learned Tosfot, they've learned all of the parashot in the Torah. They've learned a whole lot throughout 20, 30 years of learning. Okay, you've covered the Torah, fine, okay. You want to go sanctify Hashem's name and save some of the other people, or perhaps even some Jews that may fall, fine, you're allowed to do it. Just like the Rambam and the Ramban did themselves. They debated the Christians and the idol worshippers. But these are people that have already covered the entire Torah. Us lowly people that are just starting to do tshuva, or perhaps we're just new, we're 20 years old, we haven't even finished one tractate of the Gemara. We never even heard of what tractate Avodah Zarah is until this call. We're going to go learn Avodah Zarah? No. First you cover the Torah, first you take the cure, and Be'ezrat Hashem, once you get addicted to the cure, you're never even going to think about the poison. Why? Because the cure is so beautiful, so tasty, so that you're never going to miss even a minute on this nonsense that the wicked people have created. May Hashem bless you to learn a lot of Torah, to feel the Torah, to connect to the Torah, and ultimately to connect to Hashem at such a high level that the thoughts of Hashem will never leave your mind. God bless all of you.